Hi, today we want to learn to modify our host file, which is part of the DNS system or domain name system. What we want to do is modify the host file, which is where any web browser will go to look first to resolve an IP address to a domain name prior to going out to the DNS server. So what we want to do is we want to check to make sure we can view a website. So we're going to open up our browser. I want to go to www.ebay.com, a very popular website. We can see eBay comes up. It's the valid eBay site. I'm going to go ahead and close the browser. I'm going to go to my command prompt because I need a little information. What I want to do is I want to actually resolve the IP address to a different website. So I'm going to use the ping command to ping www.google.com. When I do this, I can see Google's IP address is being displayed as 74.125.225.18. I'm going to write that down so I have it for later use. I'm going to close out my command prompt, and now what I need to do is go and edit the host file. To do that, we're going to have to click Start, come up to Notepad, but if I just use Notepad by itself, it will not allow me to edit the host file. It's a protected file. I need to right click and run as administrator. Tell it yes. And now when I go to do this, I need to go and find my host file. So I'm going to do File, Open. And I've already been there, but the location for your host file is in Windows, System32, Drivers, etc directory. As you can tell, there are no files listed, because if I look at the bottom, I'm only showing files with a TXT extension. The host file has no extension, so we need to choose View All Files. When I do that, I now see my host file. I double click to open it up, and we see what makes up the contents of a host file. These are comment lines, so they're not used by the host file at this time. But we see the format is an IP address, followed by a domain name, and then if we want, a comment about that domain name. A lot of IT departments will use this internally on their network. They can send out a modified host file to a PC to resolve an internal website, such as for HR department, to allow users to just type HR in the web browser, and then they'll point it to the IP address of the server. You can tell this can be used for your local host also. 127.0.0.1 is of course our IP address for our loopback. So this way any website we'd go to with that address would come back to our machine and never actually leave. A lot of spyware programs will use this so you cannot go to a site they know is invalid. For us, we're going to add a new entry of 74.125.225.18. Remember, that's the Google's IP address, but we're going to tell it to go to, or anybody types in www.ebay.com will resolve to Google's IP address. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and when I do, it'll ask me to save. Now what I do is I'm going to open up my web browser just as I did before. Type in www.ebay.com, hit enter, and notice Google pops up. People will be a little flustered if you do this to somebody. So once again, let's try it out. www.ebay.com, hit enter, and Google pops up. Let's try searching eBay in Google. We see Google's official site, ebay.com. We click on the link. Alright, we come up with a little Google error because it adds a little more than just ebay.com. So we try again, www.ebay.com, hit enter, and our Google site pops up. We've redirected the domain name ebay.com to point to the IP address of google.com. Notice we had to do a ping and specify the Google's DNS name and define this actual IP address. You can do this with almost any site you want, and hackers do this a lot. If they can modify your host table to take your bank address, website address and point it to their server instead of your bank server, they can trick you into actually going to their site and you never know the difference. What we want to do is go back and change our file back. So once again, Notepad, right click, run as administrator, open up our host file under the Windows, System32, Drivers, etc. All files, double-click on Host, and remove our entry pointing eBay to the Google server. Close the file so it'll save it. Open our web browser. Without the entry in our local host file, which our browser looks to first, we should be able to get to the eBay server now because it's going to resolve out to the DNS server out on the internet. Sure enough, eBay comes up instead of Google. I hope you enjoyed learning how to modify the host file. Try not to have too much fun with it at home, because you can actually really make a user on your home computer a little angry if they can't get to their favorite website. Hope you join us for another lesson at another time. Thank you.